Hey there, MSPs and IT pros. Welcome to the Rocket MSP podcast, the show where we ask the tough questions. Today's episode is sponsored by Comet Backup. You can learn more about them in the show's description. And my guest today is Paul Barnes, CEO of Overe. Welcome, Paul.
Well, thanks for having me, Steve. It's great to be on, and good afternoon, good morning, good evening to everyone who may be watching.
Yes, absolutely. So let's dive right in because we got a lot to go over. Uh, where did you come from, man? You came out of nowhere. So can we get to know you a little better?
Yeah, I've been lingering around in cybersecurity for quite a long time. So I started my journey in the early 2000s with a Wi-Fi security company, and then joined a startup here in the UK called Prevex. And that was in 2006, 2007. I actually joined as an engineer, even longer head engineer. And I soon figured out I wasn't really good at that and put into product management and sales. And Prevex actually sold to Webroot in 2010. So the technology which we built at Prevex, which was a small, lightweight anti-malware engine, all cloud-based, that was what really carried through and replaced the portfolio at Webroot, which I'm sure all your MSP followers kind of aware of. And yeah, that journey really carried on through to about 2020 when I left after a couple of acquisitions, Webroot acquired by Carbonite and OpenText. But during that time at Webroot, really fell in love with the whole MSP community, and it's a kind of a very different world to what I was used to back in 2015. Never heard of an MSP. Kind of knew the folks looking after IT, but it was really at that point that my products, which were the business products, which are still carrying on today, we started to kind of find that interesting market for us, that channel, and again fell in love with it. So been in cybersecurity a long time, endpoint, and then after that I went to an MDR company called Blackpoint Cyber out of Baltimore. So I ran product for those guys. Had a short stint there, and then decided to take a break after probably a 20-year journey of lots of traveling and then wanting to do something myself. Just hit 40 and thought, let's get a few buddies together and start something fun.
Excellent. So let's talk about Overe. What exactly is this company?
Yeah. So first of all, the name, you got it right, Overe. If you're Italian, it's Overe. It's a Latin name. Kind of came up with a name for a vote, so it's kind of an interesting. This basically means cover, in Latin for cover. So we feel we're looking to cover the SaaS environment for MSPs, and so really the genesis of the idea it's been bubbling for a long time. So when I was in Webroot and Blackpoint Cyber as well, just kind of seeing that a lot of the focus was down on the endpoint and the network, and there's a lot of great work done by the MSPs to move all their clients' data to the cloud, which is freed them up from having to manage servers and those things. But it's kind of opened a blind spot for those folks. So and a false sense of security that moving the data to the cloud, actually get more secure. But there are issues with that, and so I saw that kind of gap, and really looking towards where the market's heading in cybersecurity. And I think Overe was really born out of that idea. If there's a lot of roads leading to needing to protect SaaS applications for the MSP and the clients, and so this is where we came up with the idea, and we're taking a little bit of a different spin to what's in the market already. And so I'm really kind of keen to kind of walk you through that and show you what we've got at the moment, because we're on this journey. We started about this time last year. We got the folks together and really kicked off the engineering in the early start of the year, and we've got a product out in the market, free product, which we've got quite a few MSPs kind of trying and giving us great feedback. And now we've got a beta product for our premium service, which again, love to kind of show you guys.
Great. So let's talk about the company. So you've got a background that's driven in cybersecurity for 20 years. You've been doing cybersecurity, and Overe is kind of a new spin on cybersecurity, uh, at least from what I've seen of it. Now, I'll say this: I do believe that you are building a product that's going to compete with another big company in the MSP space called SaaS Alerts.
Mhm.
But maybe not feature for feature, but I think you're going to have at the start something that competes with one of the features of SaaS Alerts, and something that you're going to have going for you is that SaaS Alerts. Jim from the company said that when an MSP leaves SaaS Alerts, uh, it undoes all of the changes that they've made on the tenants. So all of the fixes that we've applied using SaaS Alerts go away, which,
Mhm.
you know, good or bad, whatever, right? So are you doing that with your platform when your platform is able to start making changes?
Yeah, so that's a great and a very interesting point. So what we will see in the free tool, and I think what you're talking about is the applying posture settings and kind of managing those policies specifically in Microsoft. Um, we're going to keep that free tool there, so you can offboard off our premium service if you don't want to use that. And we won't undo what's there. It's basically we're not going to kind of have a kill switch when you leave us and um, those changes disappear. The policies stay in place and carry on using the free tool. And there's a lot of value in what we are giving away with a free tool because we feel one of the things is there's one thing which still needs to be done is a lot of education around the problem, and it's not FUD. There's real, genuine problems around managing, making sure these SaaS environments are secure. So we want to. That's why we're very keen to push out our free tool. We highlight that problem, allow you to make the changes, and then we'll continue to monitor them for free indefinitely. And so if you were to leave us, we're not going to undo anything, but you can still obviously carry on using the free service.
So when it comes to the company, how long have you been developing Overe?
Yeah, so we officially started coding in February. So we built a prototype, which I'm going to show you a bit later, which is our vision of where we're heading. So this is kind of the end goal, and then from that we spent a lot of time with MSPs and SMBs as well to kind of gauge like where the pull was coming from, what was working and what was potentially not going to work. And so we got a lot of feedback from about this time last year up until February, and then we started building that service code in it. So we had I wouldn't say we had the certainties in place around what we're going to build, but we basically started off, with some certainty that if we were to build this free tool, that's going to help, with the education, it's going to get our foot in the door, and then allow us to then progress them onto the premium service, which that's in beta at the moment. We've got a few MSPs helping us out with that. So we're executing very quick. We've got 7 folks on the team. They're very senior engineers. My co-founder and CTO, he was a founding engineer in Provex, and he's dealt with fully automated cloud systems and mass scales, handling billions of events. My other 2 co-founders, they come from King, which are the Candy Crush folks. So again, billions of transactions, amazing at design. And one of the folks is a security guy there. So we've got a really good pedigree, and we brought along some really good senior folks. So it's allowed us to execute very quickly. A lot of history and lessons learned from dealing with highly scalable systems and MSPs as well. So that's kind of those things are in our favor, and that's how we've managed to get from February with nothing to now with the products out in market, which came out in about August timeframe with the free tool. And then we're building the beta, and we're dropping probably a feature every couple of weeks, which is and it's not just about delivering features, it's about value. And so we're delivering value every couple of weeks in our beta service.
So how many employees do you have there?
Yeah, so we've got 7 of us. Yeah, so small team, 2 pizza boxes spread
That's
across
that's
UK
okay.
and Spain. Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. All right, so let's talk about the product itself.
Mhm.
So right now, I know you have the free tool. Do you have a paid tool yet for MSPs?
So we have the premium beta. So we're not charging for the beta. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to promote it on this is that look, you're welcome to try the premium beta, see what you think of it. It's all about monitoring and alerting, and ultimately it's going to be automatic response to anything. Because one of the key things which we want to do in the premium services, and it's one of the attributes which we did pretty well at Webroot, was almost like a set and forget approach where deploy it, lightweight, not getting in your way. It's conducive with the MSP's business, so it integrates well. It's not going to stick out and cost you hours to kind of manage it. And that's what we want to do with Overe. A lot of lessons learned from Webroot days, but there's that kind of key goal of us being able to have that set and forget auto response. And one of the kind of key differentiators we look at is that with a premium service is that we don't just look for a single lens from a perspective of just looking at the cloud apps. We are leveraging threat intelligence. We're leveraging other security tools as well to be able to more accurately detect and respond with high confidence. Because that's one of the problems we see in the market today is around a lot of alerts, a lot of alert fatigue. So a lot of things will pop up and say, hey, this person's logging on from multiple locations when in fact they just jumped on a VPN. And so triangulation is key and reducing alerts because ultimately we don't want to be bothering the MSP admin with things which aren't important. So that's kind of all part of the monitoring and the differentiators which we've got in our premium service.
What are you going to be doing differently to disrupt the marketplace?
I think great question. So I think that comes with kind of what I said around the automated response and leveraging more than just looking at the cloud applications, looking around. We're building our own endpoint sensor as well, which we feel is critical because you can't just look at the cloud and make assumptions around if an adversary's doing something. There could be clues on the endpoint, and so this is kind of some of the lessons that from MDR and by SOX as well. Is like you can't just look for a single lens, so you have to look at multiple angles. So that's really where we feel we're going to differentiate, and the user experience, and hopefully that will come through on the demos. That you can see it's slick, it's intuitive. We're not going to be demanding demo. We don't want our sales team, or we don't have a sales team. We don't want to have to demo our product. It should be so intuitive that is click next, bind to the tenant, and away you go. And so that user experience, the frictionless approach, the automated response, and the ability to look at different angles to look for adversarial activity, that's going to hopefully set us apart. And it ultimately comes down to protecting the user and the customer with high confidence, low false positives.
So I know you've got your screen shared and ready. Um, I've got other questions, but I actually want to dive in and do a demo and kind of ask questions while we're doing a demo of this thing. You ready
Yeah,
to do that?
absolutely. Yeah.
All right.
Cool. So, the first thing I want to show you is just how easy it is to sign up. So this is on our link for our website, but it's free.overe.io. And so what I'm going to do is show you the free product. We've got a couple of instances here because, lessons learned that, the EU folks want their stuff in EU and US folks in the US. So we've got a couple of instances. We can easily spin up more, but this is kind of what we started off with. And so, for this demo, we've got things in the EU. So I've gone and logged in previously, and I've got a couple of organizations. So I'm going to show some of the MSP level management. And so this is really at the MSP level where one of the things which we want to do, if there's super large MSPs with different business units and they want to separate the bills, these can act as like different MSPs. So we saw this a lot in previous roles where maybe it's a VAD, a value-added distributor, or a very large MSP's got multiple organizations that can handle this here. And this is kind of like each one of these is an MSP. And then you have all your sites here. And so, adding a site is very easy. So, for example, you just kind of say, hey, RocketMSP. And so we go along, we add that site in, and then as soon as you click through, you can add your first service. And so really at this point, you're adding the Microsoft or what's coming soon after is the Google Workspace as well. And this is I won't go through this one here, but once you set this up, you'll land into this page. And this is, again, what I'm showing you here is all free. You can access it now. And what will happen is we do quite a few things. So as soon as you connect the tenant, we'll kind of look at the license which you've got. And then we'll look back in time as well around the posture. So we're not just looking at from that point forwards. We look back in time to see, because we look at some of the logs to see what changes might have happened. And so here you can see over time, there's been some changes to policies and, things have been turned off. But one of the real key things we want to help with the free tool is that when if you look at the Microsoft security score, it's extremely difficult to know whether you have the right license in place to be able to address a security control or concern there. And so by looking at the license, we give you that snapshot. And this view is really useful to say, hey, we've detected 7 controls that your company can't fulfill based on your current license. So we're basically looking at the license. As part of the onboarding, we take a bit of information about you, about the vertical, the geography, size of business, and this really allows us to give you a contextual recommendation. So it's not just a blanket recommendation for everyone. Everyone's the same. We look at the business and basically recommend what product SKU you'll need. And so in this case, Microsoft, Azure P2. So you can click here and upgrade, and that'll allow you to get full protection. So we look through the lens of different attack vectors. So I'm not sure if that's coming on screen okay, but I'll see. But DLP,
I was able to see it okay, just so you know.
Okay, great. Brilliant. I'll zoom back out. But you can see here the controls. And so those 7 controls, what we do, once you were to upgrade, we'll add them to the list. But what we do, first of all, is give you a very short list of things which we want you to do. And so we have all the tasks here, but we don't want to bombard the admin with everything at once. So kind of give them us 3 items to look at. And so you can look at all the tasks which you need to do here and whether you got the license, and including those things which have already been completed. And so
let's talk about this real quick, because this right here I'm really excited about. So let's scroll back down and look at the outstanding security tasks. So explain the first 3 columns for me. Obviously, it looks as though these are prioritized for us. You make that very clear with the priority column. Next, you tell us what needs to happen. But then what are those next 3 columns there?
So this is when we designed, so we've actually got some AI in the background, which is crunching all this on behalf of the organization. So we're looking through different lenses around compliance, data security, and I've just blanked on the data security inside the business continuity. So we're looking through like how a CISO would look at their controls and really prioritizing it from that point. So again, we don't want to just kind of have one set of recommendations for everyone and it's all the same. We want to make sure it's relevant to the admin. So that's one key important. And whilst I'm on that screen, I'm just going to flash up what's just about to be released. And so there's actually an initial comp. So this comes out, I think, at the end of the week. We also add in the CIS score as well.
Yes.
So this was only requested a couple of weeks ago, and our team were just like, "Oh, sure, that's super easy." And so you can kind of see like the CSI ID, and it's related to the latest V3 on the Foundation's benchmark. So yeah, again, this is kind of like we want to use this as a great education for the MSP. But what MSPs are using this for a lot is part of that initial onboarding for the clients in that initial audit to say, hey, look, we have this conversation. We've done the basic kind of onboarding checks. We've counted your assets. It maybe ran a vulnerability scan. Hey, let's run Overe to kind of give you that cloud visibility with Microsoft. And so they use this as a report, which they export. Now they can use it for CIS as well. And CIS is free in the free tool. But I want to give you a glimpse into the future. But that's kind of what's planned there.
So can you open up, you opened something up that was showing us more in details on CIS for something?
Yeah. So one bit of data which we're just going to add very soon is the IG group, and
Oh, great.
that's all we're going to add in there. We just started off with the control ID, and then we're going to the IG groups coming in.
No,
In a week or so.
that's fantastic. I mean, the fact that you're giving us the control is already huge. Now, let's talk about two things that I'm a little confused about. And I'm going to plead ignorance, okay? So, the first one is it says level E3 level 2. What does that mean?
Yeah, this is straight from the Foundations benchmark. So this is kind of how CIS is classified as control. And so they say it's related to the Microsoft license, but it's not. Like, you get E3 policies in Business Premium and things like that. But CIS has done E3 and E5. That's just how they've done it. It's not from us.
Right. So, yeah. So I guess let me rephrase the question. I understand that E3 is a Microsoft license type.
Yeah.
I don't understand level 2.
Yeah.
I guess I've never heard it like that.
Yeah, no, this has come from CIS, but there is that the controls VA that we're going to put the IG, because we had similar feedback. It's like, oh, can we just have the IG 1, 2, 3 in there as well? Because that's all I want to know. And so they can export that. So yeah, this is how CIS has kind of categorized.
Okay. And then so my feedback is, the only feedback I have is for somebody who doesn't just live and breathe CIS controls and other cybersecurity frameworks all day every day, some of this information just doesn't tell me enough.
Mm-hmm.
And I do want to prerequisite for everyone that's watching and listening. I want you to understand, just because Paul and Overe are going to tell you all the different CIS controls that you can implement with Microsoft 365, that does not mean that your clients are all magically, I don't know, CIS certified or whatever the word, because this is just touching Microsoft 365. It's not touching the rest of their environment. So he's helping you make sure that your Microsoft 365 tenant and users and everything are all going to meet the different implementation groups and everything within CIS. I don't want you to get some false sense of security because it's not protecting Dropbox and Slack and everything else yet. The next thing that I have is, this says based on CSI Microsoft 365 Foundations. Is that a typo, or is it? It
is.
Okay.
It is somewhat. The engineer's been watching too much late night box yet, so.
All good, man. I just, again, I'm pleading ignorance because I just want to make sure I understand what I'm seeing here. Now, for those of you that are watching, listening live, please pop your questions into the chat. I will do my best to get them answered for you. We will put Paul's feet to the fire here and get all of your questions answered. So let's close out of this. Let's look at that priority list again. So you've got different colored bubbles inside those 3 columns, and I remember they're like for I don't remember what they're for.
Compliance, data security, and business continuity. Okay. And so this is something which we wanted feedback on, because like, it sounded like a great idea for us. Some customers are like, hey, this is kind of interesting how you're looking at it, because this is how we prioritize. This is where we fed it into AI, and this is where it's like how we prioritize the controls based on the verticals and things like that, and the size of business. Basically what it means is that, look, we really need you to do this based on your company. This is a critical one for you to get sorted. Please work on it first. Okay. So that's kind of how we're doing it, based on that category. But yeah, if it's confusing, this is the phase which we're in. We're collecting a lot of feedback on it, and we want to make sure this is intuitive as possible.
And then the license column, is that simply saying checkbox, your current license supports doing this thing?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Perfect. All right. So that means a lot of this stuff the MSP can just do for the customer without having to charge more for licensing every month. Now, this may be something that as an MSP, and maybe I want to get your opinion, Paul. So, as an MSP, we are responsible for providing, a certain level of security for our clients. So, would you say that implementing all of this stuff is something that we should be including as part of our service every month? Or would this be like
Yeah.
project work that we get to charge extra for?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it really depends on the MSP, because I've spoken to some MSPs which may be in that kind of early stage, emerging, coming from break fix, and they're kind of like, oh wow, this can make me money. I can charge it project work, based on project work. And then others are just like, look, like let's say that I'm not going to use maturity index, but like, the guys which are probably have more of that service and recurring revenue, more of that like not selling things a la carte. They'll be like, look, thanks for the guidance, and we're going to implement this on behalf of the client, and this is part of our ongoing service to our to our customers. So it really depends on the MSP, but that's some of the things which we've seen. And actually, some of the really early stage MSPs are not even looking at this. They might provision Microsoft on behalf, but the security side, they're just kind of they're lost in this. So this is acting as a great tool to introduce them into it. And that's what we want to do, is a lot of awareness. Like, hey, you've just onboarded your client, but look, you need to kind of look at this on behalf. And maybe it's something they hand over to the client because they're not equipped to do, and say, hey, this is what we found. We want to make sure you're kind of best protected as possible, and hand this over. So it really depends. But I would love to see this as kind of, embedded into the MSPs kind of, day to day. I think they should be taking, I'd say, respond more kind of helping the clients more through this, because it's super important.
So let's talk about that security assessment, threat exposure details section,
Yeah.
because that's pretty. I love I if you've watched this show long enough, I like pretty colors. I like pretty user interfaces. I'm easily pleased when it comes to I automatically like software more when they've designed it well, and you've done a really good job at designing your software, so kudos. Um, so this here, it's giving us so much information with just a picture and two sentences. The picture is showing us what has been implemented in pink, what is achievable in yellow, and then what is desired is the blue outline around the edges. And what this is showing us is that thanks to Paul's company having E5 developer licenses, they're able to achieve almost, I don't know if perfect is the right term, but according to this chart, nearly perfect cybersecurity posture. But there's some work that needs to happen in order to do that, obviously, and that's that big long list of stuff to do. But the sentence here, it really says so much. We've detected two security controls that your company cannot fulfill with your current Microsoft license. Review the graph below to understand the areas where you cannot reach the desired level of protection. That's fantastic. Like, you couldn't have made this any simpler for us to understand. Oh, so there's only two things that we're missing in order to achieve that data loss protection, or I'm sorry, data loss prevention, perfect score, if you will. Mm-hmm. So if you click on the right where it says understand the risks, if you click on data loss prevention, does that tell us what we're missing?
Yeah, so this kind of gives a description of what's what the vector is about. And we also, one of the things we're acutely aware of is that maybe you don't want to solve all in Microsoft. You might have other vendors. And so it's not that we haven't enabled like to self-test and like, hey, I'm going to put my own score. But it's just like, look, there are other solutions which you might want to look at. But the actual list, we don't have them in there. It's actually, when you'd have to go back to your old task and like, these are the 2 ones which you need.
Got it. But that's easy enough to get to, and you were able to just sort that by the license type.
Yeah.
And put it right up on the top there.
Yeah, I think the UI is pretty slick, and that's testament to our designers. They're brilliant, and so we hope it's intuitive for the folks trying it.
So let's look. You've got a bunch of buttons on this little sidebar on the left. Are we in the free version, or are we in the premium version? Or obviously I see you're in the developers, so this could even be like a future version that we don't have access to.
This is a beta version, so those beta folks will be in the staging environment. But one thing I do want to highlight is a massive feature which we give away for free. Is basically tracking the scores, the settings every day. If there's a settings change, we're going to alert you via email. So you don't have to come into us. We know we're not going to be the single pane of glass. We're not going to claim that. We want arm you with the information, pop it into email. It'll tell you if there's a settings change. So one of the use cases which we've heard from a few MSPs is that their admin might go in, the tech might go in to change a setting and forget to turn it back on again, or something like that. So this is kind of like, look, you've changed that setting, and you better be aware. Or what happens often is Microsoft introduces new settings. So you see here, hey, there's a new setting which comes in. You've got to come in and review that. So this is kind of what I feel we're giving away a lot here, but it's like, it's a massive feature in my eyes, because you set this up, you can forget about it. We'll alert you to come back and review it. And you just rest assured that we're always monitoring. And again, this is for the free service. So I did want to kind of touch on that point.
That is incredible. You are giving away so much right now.
Yeah, and so yeah, we are. I think the analogy which we're using is really around kind of locksmith and the security guard. And so we want to be, but this is the locksmith, checking the locks, making sure like it's up to snuff. And then the thing which we're going to charge for, because we need to make money, is the security guard to see actually what's going on, like user activity, using user behavior analysis and all that kind of great ML, which we're plugging in. And then that kind of advanced monitoring, that's really what we're looking to upsell to, and that's in the premium beta. Sorry, go ahead, Steve.
Oh, so with the premium beta, which I love the subtle differences between American English and British English and all the different English, right? You say beta, we say beta, but you spell organization with an S too, so. I forgive you. Anyway, all right. So with the beta product, right now you're allowing MSPs to sign up for the beta premium version for free, and then once that comes out of beta and you're ready to go to market with that, do you have any idea on what pricing is going to be?
Yes. So we've been testing this quite a bit, and we know what the market can bear. And one of the interesting ways I've been looking at this is really around how much can an MSP really swallow and wrap into the service. So if it's like if you look at things like MDR, like $5 per user per month or whatever it might be, they can't swallow that. That's kind of high end, and you won't get full penetration in your base with that. It's a conversation which the MSP needs to have, and so. It's a great service. Everyone should have MDR switched on. It's truly needed, but it's not going to get that full penetration. Where with what we are doing, I feel in a couple of years this is going to be ubiquitous in the MSP environment. This is going to be ingrained into like RMM software, like antivirus, like backup disaster recovery. Every MSP puts this in. It's like a no-brainer. So we want to be in that category, and so the price point needs to be reflective of that. And I think $1.50 for a premium service is probably where we're going to land at. But we are going to have early adopter pricing. So we're not going to wait until we're going to have full features. We'll be here a little while longer. But in around Q1, we're looking to onboard a few few clients with our monitoring, and we're also, the auto. So one thing which you don't do in the free is kind of apply the policies, right? We don't do that. You have to do it. So that auto policy kind of tracking and application, that's all going to be part of the first version of the premium beta. And there's a whole load of other features which we're working on. We've got a few things I can show you on premium, but that's kind of where we're at.
Okay. Very cool. Now, if we look, can you click on some of these icons on the left there? Let's see what else we got.
So actually, I forgot to mention another free feature, like the shopping channel here. Is this. So we highlight all the users, and actually it's not a great example. Let's go on to this. This is live. So we've got a couple of users, and this is kind of this really reflects on the threat intelligence side. This is the first bit of threat intelligence we put in, was around breach monitoring. So as part of our connection to Active Directory, and again, this is free, we'll look at the accounts in there, and we'll look at which ones have had recent breaches. We highlight every breach which we've seen, but also it's really the status is based on a recent credential breach. So we're using a really great service behind the scenes, which we trust the guys behind it, and they look deep into the dark web. So that's free. We do it free for 100 users per site, so it should cover most MSP's customers. So I did want to mention that's in the free product. And then one thing which we don't do in the free is kind of give you that extra context on the users. I mean, you can go through into enter and monitor it, look at it yourself, but that's kind of one of the things which you'll get loads of information on users lit up for that.
So the asterisks under admin, guest, MFA, last login, is that something that will be available to us in the free version? That information?
We're going to keep that in the premium version. Okay. So like that advanced stuff we're going to put in there just so we've kind of drawn the line there.
Oh, now I see it on the bottom there. Advanced account details available on premium. Okay. Cool. Very cool.
And then so on the other items, just again on the free side, so one of the things which we want to do is do a lot of is education. And so all MSPs all customers will have access to this. And so the problem we're trying to solve is there's a lot of noise in the market around, different APTs, different threats out there. And it's overwhelming for a lot of MSPs to really understand, does it affect them, and how can they resolve it, and what's the impact? And so what we're trying to do here is, for this recent APT 41, summarize it in a way that's really easy to understand, and then they can go into there and say, hey, the severity is high, productivity impact. This is how much impact to the productivity of the clients will happen if we make this change, this remedial change, and how long is it going to take? And we kind of walk them through that. So this is kind of a value add for all customers to say, look, we've got your backs. We want to demystify all this stuff which you hear in the press. There's some great research which goes on, but like for MSPs, they haven't got time to crawl through everything and figure out if it's relevant for them. So here's kind of like, pretty standardized way which we've thought of to kind of really get some value out there. So we show a quick video of how to apply it and links to that. So that's one of that's the last feature within the free tool. That makes sense, Steve?
It does, yeah. So let's can we look at some of the premium features that you've got?
Yeah. So one of the things which I did want to show you is kind of the end vision of where we're heading, and then I'll kind of end with like what we actually have today, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, and so I mentioned to you that probably this time last year we started to ideate on where we're heading and build a prototype. And so one of the things which we wanted to put in front of customers was, hey, here's kind of directionally what we're doing, the problems we're going to solve, and this really talks to the key use cases which we're going to cover long term. And so we've kind of talked about the posture side, and here we got 365 and other apps. It's kind of what you've seen in the product already. But then we've got the idea of a one-click boost. But in reality, what this is policy templates, which we're going to apply. The customer will be able to configure these and stage them and all the things we've heard from MSPs of how they want things to be applied. So, but the idea is that they'll be able to have a one-click boost, or essentially set best practice policy templates, which set conditional access policies, and they can apply them across all multiple apps here. And so that's kind of on the evolution of what we were going to do with posture and settings. But really, when one of the key things which we're looking at is really the alerting. And so these are a few examples of what we've got with typical alerts which you see in SaaS products. So you got impossible location alert. I think most tools in this area do have this, and so this is kind of looking across two different SaaS applications logged on from different locations. This should be high risk. And one of the things which we're looking at, I mentioned devices, a critical factor in this to triangulate the data. And that's going to give us higher confidence on that, hey, this is actually a risk. And so this is where the automatic response would come in. And, the customer can decide, hey, if I see this happen, I want to, de-authenticate the user or block the account, and take an action. So that's alerts, one example alert. But one of the things which talks to our kind of, let's say, machine learning and user behavioral analytics is that's this example of insider threat where, in this example, we've got a user, and this is over a long period of time, and this is really hard to do with monitoring and cybersecurity in general, is holding context on behaviors over a long period in time. And in this case, this is where an employee, so it's not an adversary, external adversary, it's an actual employee. We've seen them downloading a lot of files, and then their contract's been terminated. So they've been offboarded or Active Directory or disabled. And so this is kind of, hey, well, we're looking over a long period of time. We've seen some anomaly. This is something which you should be aware of. So this is kind of a good example to show that it's not just about, hey, point in time actions. It's like this long period of time, which we're looking at, again, all the user's behaviors to be able to kind of make a decision and then guide the MSP or the client to resolve that. So that's kind of a good example. And then, another good example, let's go on to identities. And this is something which we're looking at around triangulating data from third parties is, hey, look, we also leverage if there's ransomware or a malware seen on a device. These products are amazing at what they do on the endpoint. So we should see how we can get that information and then use that in our kind of heightened state of awareness on this user and this device to say, hey, look, if we see some strange things happen on this device because of being popped with some ransomware, then we should be looking at the cloud with from a deeper perspective. So this is kind of how that triangulation will kind of happen. So I just wanted to show those key things. There's a bunch which I can go into the services, reporting and integration. So integrations, we know we're going to integrate into different PSAs, RMMs, and things like that. That's over time. But one of the things which we know that some clients, especially larger MSPs, is that they want the data. They want to put it into their SIM or SOC environment. So we could act as that kind of broker to put it in there so they can get all our alerts and monitor themselves. So that's kind of parts of what we're doing. I didn't want to give away too much, but hopefully that made all sense. But now, any questions, Steve, or just carry on?
So I've got tons of questions still. So let's talk about our data and some compliance stuff for a little bit.
Sure.
So you're a cybersecurity company. You're a SaaS company that focuses on cybersecurity for MSPs and their clients. What kind of data are you storing?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So it would be a lot of the log data which we get from these SaaS applications. For example, Microsoft, we get through the management logs and the Graph API. And so, we do store that. So one of the things we've done straight away was actually an MSP. One of our customers has certified us for Cyber Essentials because we thought, we got to make sure that we start on the right foot with compliance. So we've done Cyber Essentials, and the team which we've got in place are all gone through ISO and making sure that we're, going to be compliant long term. We haven't got the full creds on that, but that's kind of how we're building this. So we're making sure that we don't hold data which we don't need to, and anonymizing and encryption at rest, all those key things which you'd expect from a cyber company.
Did I lose you?
Hey,
No,
can you hear
okay.
me?
Sorry. All right. So log data, that seems reasonable. Let's see here. Data sovereignty. You're a company based in the UK,
Yes,
so
correct.
there's a lot of MSPs in America. I think there's something like 14,000 or 20,000 MSPs in America.
Yeah.
So data sovereignty might be an issue for some MSPs, especially if they have government contract clients.
Yeah, and we tried to get ahead of this with using we've got you can onboard in the US, so all your data resides in the US, and when unlike some companies where there's a kind of shared data, this is literally isolated. The only data which we hold centrally across both regions is CRM data, which is the email
Okay.
contact. The actual physical data will reside there. That's why I want to give it a choice, and we could add other regions in there. Um, Pretty easy.
So do you have you're hosting everything, I assume, in like Azure or something along those lines?
AWS.
Okay. Um, so do you have disaster planning and all that types of policies and everything in place today?
I wouldn't say it's like enterprise level disaster planning, but it's we do have obviously backups and recovery plan. We spent quite a bit of time on the foundations of this platform. So before any UI was built, we spent a lot of time on making sure redundancy, like scalable, and all those things we kind of expect to come with this solution. But yeah, that's we know what's expected from us because we expect that of other applications we use, services we use. So that's kind of how we're looking at it. But we're not kind of I wouldn't say we're kind of enterprise level PR plans and things like that.
Okay, no problem. And then with that, do you have any type of data breach plan? So, one of the things that really upsets MSPs is not necessarily when their vendor gets breached. It's when their vendor hides that they've been breached
Mhm.
or tries to downplay it and make it be like, oh, it's not really that big of a deal, when it is.
Yeah. Yeah, so as part of this, both the Cyber Essentials and some of the requirements here in the UK with the ICO, and if there are breaches, we need to responsibly disclose. We have to make sure we do that in a timely fashion. But if any MSPs wants to dig into the specifics, our CTO's kind of understands that space more than me, and he kind of designing that compliance for us.
Okay. Now, since you're still new, you're still in beta, I'm assuming the answer is no, but I'll ask just in case. Do you meet any compliance standards yourself? Maybe ISO 27001, SOC 2, any of that?
Not yet. Like I mentioned, we certified with Cyber Essentials here in Europe, so that's one thing which we've done, and yeah, it's something which we are going to do. It's just budget focus and those things at the moment. We want to make sure we kind of get the product right, and we are obviously taking the security and the compliance of the platform very serious. It's just that we haven't gone through that process.
Sure. Um, HIPAA. Here in America, we've got HIPAA. Do you sign a HIPAA BAA for any of the MSPs that demand one?
We haven't done yet, but we'd look into it if that was a requirement.
Okay. My assumption is that you shouldn't need to, since you're not necessarily touching the user data. Um, but I don't know what type of access you have available to you when we sign in with that open graph or whatever it's called. So I don't know if just because you're not touching it, you still have access into SharePoint and OneDrive for our tenants, for example.
Mhm.
So if you have access into that type of information, then I believe the answer is yes, you would probably need to sign a BAA. If you don't, if all you're seeing is logs and user information, you might not need to. I don't know. You probably need to
Yeah.
talk to a compliance expert, but that's my first gut instinct is you might not need to.
Hmm. Yeah, I would have to look into that. Yeah.
All right. Now,
Cool.
since we can sign in, it looks like we sign up with our Microsoft Open Graph, right?
Yeah, so it's restricted to Microsoft creds. It's going to open up soon to other creds, but given that the free tools are all centered around the Microsoft 365 tool and assessment, it's bound to your Microsoft license, Microsoft email.
So that also means that you support MFA sort of because the Microsoft account, in theory, your MSP Microsoft account should already have 2FA enabled, right, guys?
Yeah,
But then that also means you support single sign-on right now for Microsoft, hopefully soon for Google.
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
You're right. Yeah,
All
Google's
right.
going to be the next one.
So right now everything is free. You're thinking $1.50. Uh someone asked, what's 2FA? Oh, Ian, you silly goose. You talked about how currently it's free. When you launch, you're looking at when it's more mature, $1.50 per user. Where will MSPs be able to buy this? Are you planning on like linking up with Pax8 or any distributors?
Yeah, I think the channel, the VAD channel, is going to be important for us. So we're in conversations with several. So when the time's right, we'll be going through there, and the MSPs will be able to come to us direct if they like. But yeah, we want to lean on those kind of folks.
Excellent. Now, do you have any best practices that you want to show off when it comes to you know, how do you think MSPs should be using this platform?
Well, I think I hinted a few. I think I think what we'd love to see this platform being used as is really awareness for the MSP and really the clients as well. Just kind of maturing that whole, like getting rid of that perception that just because it's in the cloud you're secure. So we're hoping that the tool and how you can export all the results and the tasks is going to really help guide that conversation and arm the MSP with that information they need to have that conversation. Because sometimes it's that again the perception gets in the way of it, and so we want to see that tool being used to again educate them and then get them on that journey. Because we're hoping what we're betting on is that that journey is going to include us up to the premium service. Because if they use that tool, they've seen the problem, we're going to help go beyond that. When I use that locksmith and security guard use case, that's kind of like we sort the locks out and then guide them onto monitoring thereafter when they kind of feel ready for that. So it's really about leveraging that tool for education and really helping up the posture of that client and that whole entire MSP base.
So, how do MSPs get support today?
So support us all via email. So if you're to join the beta, and the beta is open to everyone, just drop us a note via there's a beta link inside the product, or hello@overe.io, and then you'll be invited onto a Teams channel where you get direct access to the team. This is just for the beta users, so you can chat and get feature requests, and that's kind of where we're building the community on Teams for now. We've not chosen kind of any other kind of forum platform, but everything's kind of online, email, and we're responsive to any folks if you've got queries.
And I feel like we've answered a lot of these. So, problem solved for the MSPs. You're helping us improve the security posture for our clients. Key features and benefits. We went through a whole demo, so we don't need to rehash that. How does your product directly help MSPs improve their service deliverability? It seems like that one's pretty straightforward. You tell us what we need to fix when it comes to the security posture. How does your product directly help MSPs grow their business? Well, I want to hear it in your words.
Yeah. So I think like, it was an interesting conversation about one MSP where they were like, yeah, we've moved everything to the cloud, but we're losing $100 per server per month from the client now because we've kind of decommissioned it. No one's putting servers in, right? And so it's like there's a revenue opportunity there. There's a gap in like you've moved everyone to cloud, great. But now, like, what else can you do? And this is perfect. And I talked about this type of technology being ubiquitous within the MSP environment. I truly believe in a couple of years, it's going to be synonymous with antivirus. Like, you saw out your endpoint, you saw out cloud, and this is the opportunity which MSPs, and we're helping them on that journey of education, giving the visibility into the problem. Then we're going to help them with being able to monetize off the back of the solution, because we feel they can probably double the price. If they're not wrapping it into the service themselves and swallowing that cost, it could double the price. It gives us off our service and make that additional revenue. So I think it's out of all the technologies which I've seen recently in the MSP space, I think this has the biggest opportunity, and this is why we're betting on it, because the problem's real. I know there's a lot of FUD, but there is real issues which go on here, and this type of tool and the service which you're going to bring is really going to arm the MSP with that business opportunity, and reducing risk and stress and all those things which come with having the customer breached or phished, and then there's the wire transfers, which one of our clients, unfortunately, this happened recently before we got installed. It was set up. This happened to them. So yeah, that's what we feel.
How do you help MSPs get the product up and running?
Now, we're hoping it's so intuitive that we don't need to. So one of the things which we've mandated is that no demos. We're not going to jump on a phone and have to teach you how to do it. And it's not because we don't want to. It's that if we have to demo the product, we've failed. Or we want you to, and look, you can click on this now and sign up. And if there's any issues, you kind of contact us by hello@overe.io, and we'll help you through that. But hopefully it's just, again, the vision is set and forget. And that's kind of a real high bar, is that you sign up, you bind your tenants, and we're going to make it easier to bind the tenants with CSP logon and all that kind of thing down the line. But you bind your tenants, and then you kind of leave us to it and protect you from that point. And you only come back to us when we need your help to make a decision. Maybe there's something we just don't want to. You've not enabled auto remediation or whatever. You come in and have to take action. So again, it's hopefully set and forget, and you don't need any help. If you do, we're here.
Awesome. Well, everyone that is still watching, go to the website free.overe, OVERE.io, free.overe.io. I got it down in the corner here. And yeah, go check it out. It's free. Why wouldn't you check it out? If you don't have a SaaS cybersecurity platform today, it's a no-brainer to try out the free version. It's also a no-brainer to try out the beta, because he said Q1 is when they're looking to go to market with some paid features. So you've got a whole month at least to play around with the beta premium version. So do that. Paul, thank you so much for coming on here today. This was great. I really love what you're doing with this product.
I appreciate it, Stephen. Appreciate you inviting us onto the show, and thank you everyone for watching and listening.
All right. Thanks so much, everybody. You all have a great rest of your week. Take care.